Good afternoon, everyone. As it's about 1 p.m., let's go ahead and start this webinar. My name's Tim Cabot, and I'm the president of DCHN. I'll be serving as the moderator on today's webinar. The purpose of these webinars is in part to outreach on trends and issues that are relevant to our customers. Specifically, today's discussion will be on the FDA's science priorities for 2016 and how they relate to our field, where we work with many medical manufacturers and their instruments made from aluminum. I'm pleased to welcome Jack Tatro, the COO of DCHN and the president of Sanford Process Corporation, to lead this webinar. Jack has been in the metal finishing business for over 30 years, and he regularly gives presentations at trade shows and in industry conferences, and is increasingly well known by many people in the medical device industry. The format of this webinar is a series of about 18 slides that should take about half an hour to go over. I kindly ask that during the presentation you send us any questions via the message function of GoToWebinar. Some of these may be answered in the moment, while other questions might be held until the end of the webinar, when we can open up the mic to general questions. So without further ado, thank you for participating in today's webinar. We hope you find it useful. And now, let me turn it over to Jack Tatro.
Thank you, Tim, and thanks to all those who are attending. So, why are we holding this webinar? Well, the FDA has issued a list of its 10 priorities for 2016. One particular item on the list caught our eye. That is, improve the quality and effectiveness of reprocessing reusable medical devices. As you read the slide, pay attention to two key points. They want to enhance the safety, effectiveness, and performance of reusable medical devices, many of which are made from aluminum and anodized, and they will also focus on design and reprocessing instructions, which of course not only includes function and application, but also finishing of the product and how the finish holds up to these reprocessing conditions. So the CDRH, the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, which is a branch of the FDA and responsible for approval of new medical devices in their use, has issued the statement shown in the slide. Again, this caught our eye and basically translates into greater involvement of CDRH regarding the performance of reusable medical devices. So why are they, the CDRH, so interested? Why get involved with design and reprocessing instructions? Well, to start with, there are increasingly more germs that are antibiotic resistant. You may have heard about a recent high-profile case where patients were cross-infected even though manufacturing, cleaning, and sterilization procedures and recommendations were followed. Some of these cases, sadly, were fatal. Let's face it, MRSA, staph, CRE, and the superbugs are a growing concern. This event has raised a concern and awareness about cleaning procedures on all reusable devices. We will discuss aluminum products specifically. So you may have noticed that there are many reusable devices that are made from or contain aluminum components. Truth is, manufacturers love aluminum and for lots of reasons that we will touch on later. Almost exclusively, these aluminum parts receive some form of anodized, and of those, a good percentage will receive some type of marking and/or graphics. In the past, it was good enough if the anodizing markings were cosmetically pleasing out of the box. There was little concern for any performance ability. As experts in the aluminum finishing industry, we have seen a steady rise in the demand for better performing anodic coatings. This not only includes the coating itself, but also the markings. The question is, how does anodized perform over the life of the product? To answer that, let's go back a bit in time. So traditional anodized has been widely used and accepted in a medical field for 60 plus years, but in the last 25, its popularity has skyrocketed. Why? Simply put, people love aluminum for its machinability, lightweight, low cost, and most important, its ability to be anodized. Today, there are countless applications where anodized aluminum is used in the reusable medical device market. So you may be asking yourself, what's the problem? Well, do you remember the drug-resistant bugs I mentioned earlier? How do you think the medical industry is trying to eliminate them? One way is that reusable devices are being subjected to increasingly stronger chemistries and cleaning conditions. Now, while anodized has some great characteristics, its Achilles heel has always been its inability to resist very high and very low pH chemical attack. You see, once the anodized film is compromised by these chemistries, the attack on the coating is rapid and aggressive. And the resultant degradation not only affects the coating, but also the graphics and markings that are on the device. I will discuss more about that in a few minutes. To illustrate this point, here are a couple of photos of a tray, a module, and device that have seen multiple cleanings and sterilizations. They don't have to look good. Well, they don't look that good, do they? Sorry about that. In many of these cases, the device had to be removed from service. And you can see there is significant degradation of the coating after it's been through these cleaning cycles. So I want to take a moment to discuss what we at DCHN have learned about cleaning and sterilization in hospitals and clinical environments. What we found was that regardless of the cleaning method or recommendations by the manufacturer or chosen by the hospital, there are significant variations in the protocols used. For instance, there are many different cleaning agents, and they are used at many different strengths, temperatures, times, and number of cycles. Add to that the different equipment and staff preferences, and there can be any number of variations to what the device sees as it is cleaned and sterilized. But really, let's not get hung on that. The real point I'm trying to make is that for anodic coatings, high temperature and high pH are the most damaging. Well, why is that so? The truth is, as I stated earlier, under these conditions, anodic coatings will eventually be dissolved because traditional anodizing is an amorphous coating. So that's game over, right? No, because recent intervention has enabled us to substantially slow down this dissolution process, which has a tremendous impact on performance. Let me explain how we did that. It's about phase change. Again, to repeat, traditional anodized is an amorphous coating, and like all amorphous structure, it has weak bond strength, random molecular order, and is far less stable than crystalline structures, which have highly ordered molecular structure and tremendous bond strength, and therefore a greater resistance to dissolution. Let me explain further why we watch a clip of a traditional amorphous hard coat anodized and a partially crystalline anodic hard coat in the presence of a very high pH solution of sodium hydroxide. Bear with me. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to see here. We have a solution of sodium hydroxide at 140 degrees, which is a common solution for anodized companies to strip anodic coatings from racks or from pots that are rejected in their plant, or when people take it back from the field. So we have a conventional type 3 coating and a MICRALOX panel that has just entered this solution, almost immediately you can see some gassing or hydrogen bubbles coming off of the piece on the left. If you look close, you might even see some discoloration, some blackish or purplish looking solution. This is the black dye actually coming out of the pores as that anodic coating begins to be attacked. This video is taken in real time, so it will get more and more aggressive as time passes. At the 1 minute mark, you can clearly see the gassing and attack on the coating. Think of this like maybe like your stomach acid. If we were to put an amorphous pill into our stomach, the acid would readily attack this and dissolve that medication into our bodies quickly. With a more crystalline structure, like a 12-hour cold tablet, it takes a lot longer to break down, and it breaks down over time. So the medication is released over time as opposed to all at once. That's really a difference between amorphous structures and crystalline structures. So at the 2 minute mark, we can see some degradation on the type 3 coating. It may not look terrible, but it's clearly being attacked, while the MICRALOX coating is basically staying untouched at this point. Now you can see that the attack on the type 3 is violent. The gassing or outgassing is very aggressive. The coating is now beginning to disappear, not just the black dye, which you now can see floating and swirling on the top. And here it comes out. You can begin to see some actual aluminum color, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And again, looking to the right there, so this is at the 4 minute mark. We have completely stripped the conventional type 3 coating, while the MICRALOX coating remains intact. So it's pretty impressive, right? So what you just saw is a new patented technology that we call MICRALOX. It is the new standard of anodic coating for reusable medical devices. Through XRD analysis, we were able to prove the existence of partial crystallinity throughout the coating, that thereby significantly increasing the resistance to chemical dissolution, but still maintaining the most beneficial aspects of traditional anodize. This partial phase change did the job. When subjected to high and low pH chemistry, there's a very significant difference in performance over both type 2 and type 3 conventional coatings. Now, it should be noted there were some impressive side benefits that came from this creation. MICRALOX is RoHS compliant and passes all cytotoxicity tests. It has passed STERRAD NX100 and STERIS VPRO sterilization methods without any organic dye fading or discoloration. This ability to pass exposure to hydrogen peroxide has helped solve one of the biggest performance concerns for anodized aluminum in the North American medical market. Well, so far in this webinar, it's all been about the coating on the reusable medical device. But the anodic coating is not the entire story. What about the markings and graphics? As promised earlier, this is worth some discussion. Currently, the most common methods of marking are laser engraving and silk screening, but these methods have risks associated with them, especially now given the direction the industry is taking regarding aggressive cleaning. The failures of these markings has always been a liability worry for device manufacturers, but now that more aggressive cleaning conditions are being applied, a better system of marking is a must. Why and what does that mean? Well, let's start with silkscreen, which is applied on top of the anodic coating. Changes in temperature can cause contraction and expansion of the base metal and can cause delamination of the silkscreen and make the graphics unreadable. Also, chemical attack can loosen the bond between the screen and the substrate. Laser engraving, while seemingly a better choice, will compromise the coating itself that is already easily damaged by the aggressive chemistries discussed earlier. This area of engraving is the first place of attack when exposed to harsh chemistry. And again, once that attack happens, it increases exponentially. So why is this important? Having a fully functioning device that is removed from service because the markings are unreadable is like not being able to drive your car because you have a scratch in the paint. The device is fine, but the instructions or warnings are gone. This now becomes a liability issue. With illegible markings, the device might as well have no motor. So how do we solve the problem? Sanford embedded print is a method by which the markings or graphics are printed into the open anodic pore and then permanently captured within the coating. Once subjected to the MICRALOX treatment, the markings are protected by the most advanced anodic technology available. This unique method is rapidly finding a home in the market due to its nearly indestructible nature. So we discussed a lot about best practices solutions to this nagging problems medical device manufacturers will face, but you may be thinking to yourself that specifying this coating is a lot of change and a lot of headaches for you. The reality is, it's really not. Why, you ask? Well, MICRALOX is classified as an anodic coating. It maintains all the positive benefits of Type 2 and Type 3 coatings, like dyeability for cosmetics, hardness for wear resistance, coating thickness for control of dimensions and tolerances, and as stated, it passes ROHS and cytotoxicity tests. And now, because of the hard porous film created by specialized Sanford process power supplies, there is a Sanford print with nearly indestructible markings. So in summary, the FDA and the CDRH has made design and function of reusable medical devices a priority. Now there is finishing and marking technology to provide substantially improved functional requirements. Aluminum is a common material and anodizing is frequently specified, but poor field performance under aggressive chemistries make it problematic. MICRALOX offers 10x better performance due to its enhanced stability. Sanford embedded print eliminates delamination issues and the need to damage the anodic coating by laser. So thank you very much, and I hope you will write in some questions, and I'll wait a minute for that.
Okay, Jack, well, while you were talking, a couple of questions came in. The first one comes on concerns your thoughts on different material selection for making the medical device, the reusable medical device. Obviously, there's some different choices, both in terms of the substrate material or other ways of being able to protect an aluminum substrate. Could you please talk about the pros and cons of those alternatives and touch upon specifically plastics, nylon coatings, and in terms of metals, stainless steel and titanium?
Sure. It's a long question. Somebody must have had a lot of free time. So of course, there have been people who have explored. Let's talk about cases and trays for a minute. That have explored stainless steel because of its impervious nature to these harsh chemicals. But there are a lot of drawbacks with that because of, let's say, the weight, and because it has very little ability to be finished. It is one color, and it looks like that. With titanium, while you can color it, it is very expensive, and the color doesn't last very long. As soon as it's handled, it changes color. People have tried to nylon coat different steel or stainless steel to give it some color, but nylon has its share of problems as well with being it easily cracks and delaminates, and some of the cleaning solutions can get into the cracks in the nylon coating, and the other situation is it doesn't dry very well. So it has been, I won't say cast out completely, but just about entirely cast out. With devices such as drills and saws, people have tried plastic, but doctors seem very reluctant to use plastic equipment. It doesn't feel right. It can be slippery, and there's been a lot of pushback on those types of substrates. So aluminum has been the material of choice. The problem is the anodic coatings that have been on there, and we believe we have solved that problem for the industry. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Jack. We've got another one here. We may have touched on this, but just to clarify, how does moving to microcrystalline anodizing change dimensions or impact tolerances?
That's a great question. Well, the entire MICRALOX process is based off of hard coat technology. So, as you would expect hard coat to perform on your aluminum device in regard to dimensions, so will MICRALOX. The average coating on MICRALOX products is around 2 mils, just like in hard coat, and we have the same plus or minus tolerance on that. The only difference, I would say it's not a difference, but the only change in that is depending on how it's cleaned and prepared on our end, and that really depends on how the pre-finishing is done at the customer's end. But tolerance of the coating itself is very comparable to hard coat.
That's great. Those are the 2 questions we got, and unless there are other questions, I think we'll go ahead and close the webinar. So no more questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. We are available to address any questions you might have regarding the reprocessing of reusable medical devices. You can contact Jack Tatro directly, either by phone or email or through our websites. We'd especially like to hear about any questions that you may think about later on regarding this technology, as well as the issues underlying the need that drove the FDA to make this a science priority. Without further ado, we'll just say thank you very much and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.